Hello, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Greg Kometz, and I'm the owner of Nolley Welding and part owner of TK Steel. And it's June 25th. It's about 7:30 in the evening, and this is going to be just a video shot of this structural steel fabrication business so that you might have an idea on whether you would want to maybe visit with me about purchasing it or not. I'm sure you're wondering, why in the world would this guy sell this business? And part of the reason is I turned 62 years old the other day, and I've been here since January of 1981. I bought this business from a man named Cliff Nolley, and I have such a strange last name that nobody can ever pronounce it that I just left the name Nolley Welding. Now, just a little bit about Cliff Nolley. Cliff Nolley was too old to go fight in World War II, so he went to the shipyards. And in the shipyards, he learned the welding business, and he was a really smart man. And it wasn't very long, and he was a lead man in the shipyard. And when the war was over, he came back to Miles City, and he took his welding skills, and he rigged up a portable welding truck, and he did oil field welding all over Wyoming, North Dakota, and Montana. And sometime, and I'm not sure of the date, but in the mid-50s, Mr. Nolley put up this 28 by 48 bay. And you know, that man put 5 kids through college out of this small bay. Now, Mr. Nolley, he was a fine Christian man, and he was totally unashamed of the Lord Jesus Christ, which made him incredibly honest in all his dealings. And I have tried my best to follow that example. So just a little bit about the history of the shop. Now, I'm marketing this business as a structural steel fabrication shop, and the part of the reason I'm doing that is that's where the most potential is at for the growth of this business. There's actually several businesses in this shop. We have the Nolley Welding and Machine, which is a fabrication and repair shop, and we have a retail welding gas and cutting gas stopping point. We own all the cylinders, and it is quite a little business. We sell a lot of cutting gas and a welding gas. You know, we have a business radius of 150 miles in all directions. So you might look at a map and think we're right out in the middle of nowhere, but we're actually quite a hub. And so I think on that note, I am going to give you a virtual tour of the shop. And I might just tell you a couple things. I did not get the paintbrush out. I did not even get the broom out. This is a very busy place. For all these years, I have got up early and I've stayed up late, and I've worked 6-day weeks most of my life just to keep up with what goes on in this place. And so we're going to just go over here to the office, and we're going to take a few snapshots of this business. I might share with you just a little bit about the potential of the structural steel. A friend of mine, we started the structural steel fabrication business. We named it TK Steel LLC, and we have never really pushed this business. We've got like 7 general contractors that use us, and we've never advertised. We've never made a sales call. And there's been some years that the gross of TK Steel has outgrossed Nolley Welding. And so I'm thinking that if you're a structural steel fabricator, or if you're an estimator, or if you can do shop drawings, if you know the structural steel business from top to bottom, this is $1 million per year gross sales, easy, with just the structural steel. We've never pursued the Billings market, 150 miles right down the interstate, 2 hours. Tremendous amount of work going up in Big Sky, which is Bozeman. It's 300 miles away. Gillette is booming. It's 160 miles to the south. Williston and Dickinson, North Dakota. I do not think there's a structural steel fabricator in any part of this country until you get to Billings, Montana. We were so busy, my partner and I, we actually turned down the steel work on a bank, if you can believe that, in Glasgow, which is north of here. And so I'm telling you this to say that the potential for the structural steel part of this business is untouched. And with that, I think we're going to just take a small virtual tour of this place. And I guess we'll head right over and we're going to walk right in the office door and we're going to start right there. So give us a minute and we'll start back up over there. Well, welcome to the world headquarters for TK Steel and Nolley Welding. This is our office and our break room and our parts room. And most of you are probably familiar with the break room. This is where all of the world's problems are solved. We just don't have an audience. And I imagine your break room is pretty much the same way. So just a very, very simple office, 20 by 24, well lit, fairly well organized, even though it doesn't look like it. And I think on that, I'm going to move into the shop and we're just going to continue the tour. This is where I spend most of my time. This is kind of my place and my tools because I'm close to the telephone. And it rings about 35 times a day. And of course, every one of those calls demands some kind of an answer or response. So anyway, this is where I spend most of my time. And I'm going to walk right over here and I'm going to show you this piece of equipment. When I bought the shop from Mr. Nolley, this was the first piece of equipment that we built. It's a 60-ton hydraulic press. And this shelf full of dies and all kinds of specialty tooling is a lifetime of making parts to make this press function. And I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to turn it on and then I'm going to tell you a quick story about this machine. Many years ago, I went to a wrestling match and I was sitting at the match next to a gentleman and he had a liner business and he said he was relining oil field tanks at refineries and he couldn't find anybody to make 1/2 by 1.5 inch slotted holes in quarter-inch stainless steel strip. And he asked me if I would like the job. And I said, "What's it paying?" He said $1 a hole. He was having someone in Billings do it with a vertical mill and the guy told him he never wanted to see him again. So I hired a company called Unipunch, and that particular punch is laying right down here, and they built me a specialty punch. And we got it all in this machine and we punched about 5 holes and we ran out of tonnage. So I had to rebuild everything. I had to reinforce this up here and reinforce the table and move the hydraulic pump and build a new cylinder. But to make a long story short, we could punch those holes. And so on a Sunday afternoon, usually after church, I would get my kids, who were probably 9 and 10 and 11, and we would come down here and we would wear our earmuffs, and in one Sunday afternoon, we would punch 1,500 holes. Not a bad deal. And all the little pedals it made, my kids, they made flowers out of those pedals. All their teachers got these nice little welded flowers for years. Just a quick story about this machine. And you know, in a welding shop or structural steel shop, virtually everything you make warps or bends, and it usually ends up in this press. Vital piece of equipment. Okay, I'm going to walk straight back here, and I'm going to show you our rigid threading machine. And I'm going to just try and just share some stories with you because I walk in this place and there's just memories that just come to mind. My daughter, who was probably in 8th grade when they built Walmart here. And not knowing very much, I got the anchor bolt contract for the whole complex. My little girl stood by this machine for 2.5 weeks making anchor bolts. She still reminds me of that every now and then. But anyway, we can thread 1/4 inch to 2 inch, coarse and fine, as well as pipe. Okay. Another machine, and another homemade machine, and what it does, it was originally designed to make U-bolts. But we've made pipe dies, we've made all kinds of stuff out of here. And what it does, It has 3 hydraulic cylinders, so you can imagine the parts that you can make and form in this horizontal press. Back here, if I could get Bart to maybe just scan, we have an Ellis sander and an old drill press. We do have a magnetic drill that is powered down for our structural steel business, and it can drill up to a 2-inch hole, all self-fed. And we do have a hydraulic beam punch that will punch an inch hole and 1/2-inch plate. And most of you are probably familiar with that. So we're going to walk around the corner, and Bart's going to have to follow me because I've got to give you another demonstration here. Of course, most of you are very, very familiar with a hydraulic iron worker. Very common. But all of it, you're not familiar with a mechanical iron worker. And I'm going to turn this thing on, and I'm going to show you what this does. This machine, whether you believe it or not, it will cut 1/2 by 6 by 6 angle as fast as you saw it punch those 4 holes. So if you get a structural steel job, and we've got them, and you probably have too, where it takes literally pallets of angle iron clips, this is the machine you need. Very quickly, we're going to run down the north side of this shop, and I'm just going to show you the equipment that is in here. We've got an overhead crane in our big bay. We've got 16 by 16 doors and a 40 by 80 bay. And we're going to start right here. We've got an 8-foot by 16-inch Le Bon lathe with a 3-inch hole in it. Excellent, excellent machine. We've got a Knight vertical mill. Cuts keyways, does all kinds of milling. Here's an XMT welder with a dual feeder on it. Back here we've got a big Miller Delta Weld 450. Another Miller welder, what is that, a CP 252 TS welder. Just a great old machine. Here we have a 100-amp plasma cutter. And we have another 252 TS Miller feeder. An old Kalamazoo bandsaw. We're going fast here. Back here we've got a torch, a steamer, and a box and pan brake. But over here, we've got to spend just a minute over here, because back in this corner is how we heat this facility. These are coal furnaces. This is technology from the 60s. And I built these furnaces. One furnace is 1,000,000 BTUs, and it heats this part. And then on this wall on the other side, I currently have a 35 by 80 bay rented out. And the renter is leaving in September. But this furnace heats that 35 by 80 bay with floor heat. So it's a coal-fired hot water heater. And this is the best system in the world to heat a shop. We can heat all of the square footage of shop. You know, we've got a, what do we got? A 28 by 48 bay, a 40 by 80 bay, a 35 by 80 bay, and it gets cold here. And we can heat all of this for under $2,000 a year as our coal bill. Okay. Big Cincinnati press brake, you've probably seen those. We'll just run it up and down real quick for you. You kind of need to keep your fingers out of that one. And then we have a Niagara 1/4" by 10" plate shear, mechanical shear. This is a diacro press brake, and it's set up for another business that we have here. We're probably one of the largest manufacturers of gate latches for barbed wire gates, and this machine makes a lot of our parts for that business. And we can go down, there's an old LeBond lathe here, and back in there there's an electronic welding positioner and an airless paint gun, and some storage of this, that, and the other thing. A Hausfeld iron worker. Over here we've got a 5x10 welding bench and a couple different welders all set up there. So folks, we're about done. We've got to go outside and we've got to look at a few more things out here. This is a plate roller that Mr. Nolley built, and for years it had a Model A transmission on it. And it wasn't but a couple years ago I finally had to replace the transmission and the motor. But Mr. Nolley did quite a job building the plate roll. The end comes down and you get pieces on and off. Behind the plate roll is a rebar ring roller that I built, and you can roll a piece of number 3, 4, 5, 6 rebar into a perfect circle mighty fast. Here's our portable ring roller, and it is a rebar rolling machine. There's a forward, there's a reverse, and there's an up and down. Very simple, but it will make a ring out of a piece of rebar like way fast. Okay. Another saw that we built here in our shop, it is a 20-inch chop saw. It has a 15 horsepower 3-phase motor. Okay, now we're going to have to go back here and we're going to look. I have a portable welding rig. It's a Lincoln Vantage 400, and it has less than 1,000 hours on that machine, and it's mounted on a trailer. And we found that is the best way for us to do portable work. If you're doing an install with your structural steel, you can drive your nice pickup and just leave the trailer set on the job site. And it's painted Sandgel silver. And that doesn't mean anything to you, but there was an oil field company that came to town in the year 2000. And I worked for them for 16 years. And we built this welding trailer to build cement bulk plants for the oil field. And we built them in Wyoming. We built them in Colorado. We built them in North Dakota. And we built them in Montana. I think probably pretty close to 20 cement bulk plants. But in those 16 years that I worked for Sandgel, I punched the button on the QuickBooks and we grossed $822,000 with that one company in 16 years. So she's a going deal here, and I think I'm going to conclude by telling you how to proceed. This is my first rodeo. I have never sold a business. I don't know much about it, so you've got a little tour. And the way that I think it has to work is I'm going to give you my mailing address, and you are going to have to send me a $10 bill. And when I get that $10 bill in the mail, I will send you the finances and a description and a little more history of the place. And so if you would like to pursue this, you could mail a $10 bill or a $10 check to Nolley's Welding, 21 Water Plant Road, Miles City, Montana, 59301. Thank you very much for putting up with me on this virtual tour, and I look forward to hearing from you.